What's up, everyone? Welcome into the ASN podcast powered by your favorite attorney, Nelson Gevorkian Esquire. I'm Andre Khatchaturian, and today we're joined by longtime UFC veteran and new mother, Katlyn Cerminara Chookagian. Katlyn, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, first off, thanks for your time. You're a very busy mom now. So how has motherhood been treating you?
It's good. It's super exciting. Everyone right away says, enjoy it. It goes so fast. And you're like, okay, every single person says that. And then there's a reason why they say it, because it does go really fast. It's so crazy to think, I'm like, wait, like 6 months ago, this wasn't how my life was. Once you have a baby, it's like you're a totally new person.
So you mentioned you're a new person. So how has it changed your perspective, both personally and as an athlete?
It's definitely makes you laser in on what's really important, because your time is so limited, and what you can do and when you can do it. So which isn't that much different than how I was before, but basically it was the only thing I care about is hang out with my husband and daughter and training and going to the gym. So which really wasn't that much different than what I was doing before. But you really have to prioritize your time and everything, and what's important, and anything else anything else someone talks about, I'm in my own little bubble. I don't care about anything else.
You were pretty public about how difficult it was for you to start a family in the past. Obviously, it all worked out in the end for you. What was that whole process like for you, especially finding out that, wow, I am actually going to become a mother now?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. I think that, I grew up with the whole, my generation grew up with the whole, especially being a female, focus on your career. You can always have kids later. And while I do think there is some truth to that, I think for my case personally, I was when I started having trouble, having kids, I was maybe I shouldn't have listened to that. Maybe you could have kids earlier and then still do your career, depending. Obviously, this is different for everyone. Depends what your career is or whatever. But, I think I kind of thought you always have time, and you push it off. And then when, it didn't happen right away, then I started wondering, did I focus too much on fighting that now I won't be able to do this? And, I kind of balanced. It took me about 3.5 years to get pregnant, of really trying. But I was, at the same time, I was also fighting, in the top 5 of the UFC. So trying to balance those two things that aren't really probably meant to be balanced. They're two totally different things, but that made it difficult. And I felt myself I would want to take a break from doing infertility treatments and all that. So my idea of a break from that was to take a fight. And then I'd be in camp and I'm is this ruining my chances? Is this too hard on my body? So it's no matter which thing you're doing, you're always second guessing yourself. So, it's a very tough situation, but like I said, I'm just so happy that everything worked out. And it'll be crazy, when I fight again, to not have to have those, second guessing things in the back of my head, should I be doing this or should I not? And I can just, I basically have everything I want.
So would you say that a lot of that difficulty was mental, I guess? I
think at the time I didn't realize it. I'm the type of person that's so I'm mentally tough, I'm focused, I cannot let things bother me. But now that, I'm thinking getting ready to fight again, and I don't have to worry about that. I was oh, wow, that's crazy. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. I think at the time I didn't realize it, but looking back, it was kind of a hard thing to juggle.
Well, you were saying at the time, before your last fight in 2024, you said that you were taking this fight to kind of take a break from the whole difficulty of not getting pregnant. So, I mean, in my mind, I'm well, she wants to fight, which it sounds like a hard thing to get away from another hard thing. So I'm very happy for you that you were able to get through all of that and go into your next chapter of your personal life. And we talk about March 2024. That was your last fight. It's almost 2 years now, but you're saying you're training. We see it on your social media. You're very actively training now. Is a return to the octagon and something we see in the new
it's definitely I've been talking to my manager. I'm trying to get a fight booked, so I'm very much I'm ready to go. Let's, sparring and doing all the different training and everything. So I feel totally good. Like I'm at the point where I didn't know how long it would take me to get, I was like, I don't want to rush getting back to fighting, but also at the same time, I don't want to waste time. But I was surprised with how good I felt so quick. And, I did train my whole pregnancy, as much as I could, but I was like, still like working out 6 days a week, and I was, lifting, doing cardio, and then I was doing like boxing training with my pads. Since I have a Zoom meeting
No,
calling through.
I see you just fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, I was actually doing boxing, and the whole pregnancy I went left. I'm normally a righty, so I went lefty. So
Wow.
I'm still trying to develop new skills as much as I can, given the fact that I was pregnant. And then about 5 weeks after my pregnancy, I felt really good, and I started training jujitsu and slowly working my way up. And by like month 3, I was like, when I'd be training, I was like, wait, did I just have a baby? I feel totally like when I'm in training room, like I feel like exactly the same. And then obviously been working my sorry.
No,
and I've been working my cardio up. So now I feel like ready to go.
that's great to hear. So what is a timeline that you would want to take a fight?
I mean, ideally, like May would be perfect. I would like to fight. I would fight earlier, but I need my parents to help me for fight camp for babysitting. So they're going away in February. So when they get back, then my mom's on fight camp duty to help me out. So yeah, but May would be like ideal.
Yeah, that's something you probably never even thought about in the past. And now you're like, oh my God, need to have someone look after my baby.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, you're 37 years old now. You've accomplished so much in your career. Before, you're a top 5 fighter. You fought for the belt, and now you're not in the rankings anymore. So, how does that mindset now when you're like, okay, you're trying to get back into this now? Is it kind of an extra challenge, or you're kind of fighting with, no pressure, I guess?
I think maybe a little bit less pressure. One, and I'm interested to see who they give me, because like I'm not in the rankings, and I haven't fought in 2 years, so it's like, who are they going to give me? I've never had I think out of all my UFC fights, maybe one was not someone in the top 10, and I think there were like 11 at that point. So I feel like all of my UFC fights have been very tough. I don't know how many guys or girls UFC fighters have had like pretty much 20 fights and all top 10.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't been in the rankings, so I have no idea. I don't know if they're gonna give me someone lower or not, or I really have no idea. So I'm interested to see, like, and I'm like looking at everyone, all the girls in like the top 15, like wondering like, what about this person? And every time I think of like one girl, I'm like, it seems like everyone's matched up. Like I'm like, either this girl or this girl. I'm like, oh, they're fighting each other, especially with like the break from December, like not having UFC fights. It feels like everyone's matched up. Everyone's had that break and wants to fight. So I have no idea, but whoever they give me, I'm used to fighting top people. So if they give me that, that's fine. If not, I don't really care.
Yeah, I guess this will be good to see, how the division shapes out over the next few months. Since you want to fight in May, you can kind of let the division run its course, and then I'm sure a proper opponent will come up that way. Yeah. So, obviously this is Armenian Sports News. You've been vocal about your Armenian heritage before. For those who haven't heard, though, tell us about your Armenian heritage and your family.
So my dad's side of the family is from Armenia. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and so we're in a small town in Pennsylvania where I grew up. There wasn't like very many Armenian people, and so then it was crazy to me when I got into the UFC. Like every once in a while, it's the Armenian thing. You meet someone with the last name, and you're like, oh, they're Armenian. Yeah. But like, I think it was like the only other person I knew that was Armenian growing up was like my orthodontist. So like, of course we went to that orthodontist, but growing up there really wasn't any. And then I went to college in New Jersey, and it would be like weird. Someone's like, oh, you're Armenian? I'm like, yeah. Like, and then I started being near the city, started being around more people. There was where I used to teach kids kickboxing, and it was kind of close to an Armenian church. So there was more Armenian. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. There's so many Armenian people here. Because I didn't realize, like, growing up how tight knit everyone was, just because I wasn't around it. And I remember my grandfather, who's Armenian, he came over from Armenia, and he came over to Philadelphia, and then moved out to the suburbs outside of Philadelphia. But I remember he was like maybe in his early 90s, and it was right around the time Ronda Rousey was fighting. And he was like, you need to go train. He would see her on, like, you know, the nighttime. He didn't know anything about UFC, but he knew, like, she was on every news show. And he'd be like, you need to train with her, coach. She's the best. And I'm like, because he just saw he's Armenian. I'm like, that's why you want me to. And he's like, yeah. He's like, he's the best coach. You know, it was so cute. But that's when I started to learn. I'm like, wow, this is a tight knit crew. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And just then when I got into the UFC, I remember it was right after my first UFC fight. I would looked on my Instagram, you know, all the comments, and it was just flooded with like Armenian flags. I was like, this is so cool. I'm like, I grew up you know, I was like, I don't have US doesn't really care about our American fighters and everything, you know, they don't care about that. And I was like, oh my God, these people are so supportive. And I just felt that right away. And I think right when I got into the UFC, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And then, you know, living in New York and being around more people and kind of finding that crew and everything, it's just a really nice community to be a part of.
Beautiful. That's awesome. I love that story about your grandfather too. And he's always every Armenian's grandparent is always in their 90s. If you just I don't know what's in the water. He's just always long lives.
Yes.
And speaking of Armenians, obviously there's a ton of Armenian fighters in the UFC. Armenian Tsarukyan, Edmund Shabazian, Melsik Bagdasaryan. Have you developed some kind of relationship with any of the Armenian fighters in the UFC over the years?
Just when I see them at the fights, it's always like, I remember the first time I saw Armin, I was like, oh, I'm a fan of him, even if wasn't Armenian, but then obviously him being Armenian, you know, right away. But I was like, oh, can I get a picture? And he knew, he's like, oh, you're Armenian, blah. And I was like, oh, cool, that's so awesome. So everyone's super cool. Like, we all follow each other on Instagram and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely awesome.
Well, speaking of Arman, he's been one of the hottest topics in the UFC lately. You know, a lot of people surprised he didn't get the title shot for this weekend's UFC 324 card. What are your thoughts on that whole situation, the lightweight division?
I mean, honestly, like I said, maybe I'm biased just because I'm such a fan of Armin's, but I was like, I didn't understand. I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something. Like, he didn't get it because he pulled out of the one fight because of his back. But then I look at there's other people that do that and then they're not as punished as much. And I was just like, I don't understand why he's getting, you know what I mean? I don't understand why he's getting so much hate. And he fought again after that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. It's just kind of I don't know. I don't get it. And I think now, especially you know, more people are aware of him and he's doing his whole PR tour is definitely working because everyone's an instant fan of him.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's in everything. He's in every podcast, every stream.
I was like, he's got to be tired.
And he's been doing some, you know, side quests as well, grappling wise. So I feel like a lot of people are in agreement with you. They don't know what they're missing with this. But what are your thoughts on the fight this Saturday with Gaethje and Pimblett? What do you think will happen?
I kind of am going with Paddy for that fight. I mean, I used to be in the beginning, I was kind of not a Paddy hater, but I was like, oh, he's kind of overhyped. He's overhyped. And then his last fight, I was like, okay, no, he's legit. You know what I mean? It's hard when someone's a new fighter. You're like, oh my God, of course they're doing good. They're not fighting anyone in the top. And then all of a sudden then they fight someone and you're like, oh, okay, they're legit, you know, and they're getting better each fight. So it's kind of, you know, I'm excited for the fight, and I could see it going either way, but I'm kind of leaning more towards Paddy.
What are your thoughts on the UFC's new deal with Paramount? A lot of fighters have been talking about that lately and how it affects them financially and whatnot. Do you feel like what are your overall thoughts about it?
I mean, as a fan watching, I have Paramount, so I'm like, oh, it's sick that it's better for fans. you know? And as a fighter, I mean, I'm like kind of like the one fighter that doesn't complain about fighter pay. I don't know. I just think, of course, I would love to get paid more. I think anyone in any job would like to get paid more. It's like, everyone says like, oh, teachers should get paid more, nurses should get paid more. It's like, of course, but I mean, there's no other job that I could do. I went to college, but I don't know what other job I could do that I'd make this much money. So, I mean, I guess I understand the whole like complaining about like the profit sharing, and I don't really know too much about that, but like, people complain, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with what I make. Of course, more would be great, but but yeah, I think they said that with the Paramount deal, fighters were going to get paid more, but we already have our contract set, so I don't know if that would take into consideration like our next contract that we make, but also too, Dana always like people like talk a lot of crap about him, but he also throws we get bonuses like after the fights, that aren't disclosed. Like whatever they show that's disclosed for our pay, it's like never that little. It's always more. So maybe maybe more fighters will be getting that after some of these cards until like new contracts are up. I'm not sure.
I mean, it's a historic deal. Hopefully it trickles down to the fighters and that they deserve. Speaking of Dana White, he's been very outspoken about the UFC White House card later on this summer, America 250. What are your thoughts on that? And is this your time to pitch to Dana to maybe get on that card? I know you said you want to fight in the late spring or early summer. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool. Of course, I think like most fighters, I would love to be on that card, but coming from a 2-year layoff, it's kind of a big ask. Like, hey, by the way, can I? But we'll see. I mean, obviously, I would love that opportunity, and I think it's cool. And if I'm not fighting on the card, I would love to go and see it. I just think it's such a cool experience. It's just so crazy to see how far the UFC has come, like since I started. I mean, when I got in, I don't even know what year it was, like maybe 2015, 14 or 15. Like that was when it started getting kind of big. There was I think there was only 2 girl divisions at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. But like at the time, people still didn't know what it was. Like I would be in the UFC and have to tell people like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, it's kind of like boxing.
Yeah.
Now everyone knows what it is. Like, and that happened like that. Like I think pretty much after COVID. Like, and it's so weird to me because like going places like in public and people like talking about it, and I'm like, oh, everyone knows what it is now. It's not just like my gyms and my circle of people I'm around, and then people are like talking about it. It's just so weird, like how fast things change. And now it's like, I mean, each year it feels like it exponentially grows more and more. It's like so mainstream and worldwide now, and it's a really cool thing to be a part of and to see. So yeah, definitely being at the White House is kind of crazy.
So yeah, it's quite the growth. And you mentioned there's only like 2 women's divisions at the time, and the UFC's always been like, I think, the best sport in promoting women. Like the biggest star in the sport 10 years ago was a woman.
Yeah,
with Rousey. And how does it feel like for you to kind of be a pioneer and have young girls looking up to you for that next generation of fighters?
It's so weird. Like I said, everything happens so fast. Like I still like don't think of myself as like, sometimes I'm like delusional. I'm like, wait, I still feel like I'm like a new fighter. And then I'm like, wait, no, like someone will say like a veteran. I'm like, oh my God, that makes me feel old. Because I'm like,
I said veteran. I'm sorry. When I started the interview, I called you
No,
veteran.
it's good. But I just think of that when I think of veteran, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of like I don't think of myself. I think of like other girls. Like I think of like Amanda Nunes, Misha Tate, and like those girls that were in it before me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, wait, now there's I was in it before other girls that are like in the top now. And it's so weird to me because I'm like, when did that happen? And I feel, like I said, I feel the same. But it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm like, wait, when did that happen? It's cool to be a part of it. Like I fought, my second UFC fight was the first fight at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And So that fight was that was like a cool moment. I think at the time I didn't think it was as big of a deal. Now I think looking back at it, like I was the first fight and I was the first person to walk out. So technically I was like the first fighter to ever walk out at MSG and little stuff like that. I'm like, oh, you don't realize it at the time because you're so focused on the fight. But I'm like, that was a really cool moment, you know.
That was McGregor and Alvarez, right? 205?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was the first fight of the night. And then the end of the night, I went back to my hotel, showered, and then I came back and I like was in the stands, and I was in the stands for when Conor walked out, and I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And I like have like I'm like, wait, I was just in there? Like, I feel like I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome or whatever, but I was like, I'm like, this is so insane. I'm like, wait, I just fought. But it was like a couple hours later, I'm like, I can't really comprehend that. It's just so crazy.
That's so cool. Yeah, I was actually at that fight too. As a young reporter with New England Sports Network.
Oh, nice.
That was, we covered all the Conor fights because there's a big Irish population in Boston. So yeah. So that was a really cool moment to be a part of UFC 205. So Katlyn, just one question before we go to a quick rapid fire. You mentioned, you mentioned how you've been part of the sport for so long. What's your goal now with fighting with the UFC? You still aspire to be a champion someday?
I do, but with just my age and like family and everything, I'm just kind of just taking it like one fight at a time, and not trying to put too much pressure on me, and being like, I think my whole career I've been like, all right, trying to plan out the timing of everything, and it obviously doesn't work out like that. So I'm really just at this point, like, I'm always gonna want to be a champion, but I'm just taking it literally one fight at a time and just seeing, like I said, I have no idea what type of fight I'm gonna get. Am I gonna get someone that's like ranked 15? Then it's like, okay, then I need a couple wins, or am I gonna get someone that's like ranked 5 or 6? Then that changes the timing of everything. So things that aren't in my control, I'm trying not to worry about and just take it one fight at a time.
Cool. And now we're going to do a quick rapid fire. Just going to ask a handful of questions, and you're going to answer them. So the first one for you is the hardest opponent you've ever faced.
I guess Valentina.
Favorite city to fight in?
Vegas, for sure.
One fighter you wish you had faced but never did?
Probably Ronda Rousey.
Your most memorable UFC moment?
Probably, it wasn't like my biggest fight, but probably when I fought Antonina Shevchenko, just because it was like the very thick of like COVID. Yeah. It was like April 2020, and it was like, people were like, you're going on an airplane? This is so crazy. And it was like me and 3 other people on an airplane. I trained for like 3 weeks in my garage, and it was like, so just like that whole thing, and then winning, and it was after I lost the title, so it was just like good to get back and get a win. But just training in my garage and like with 2 other people, it was not telling anyone we're doing that, and that whole thing. It was kind of crazy. It was
a weird time.
Yes.
If you were a UFC fighter, what sport would you have played?
I mean, I played field hockey in high school, but that's not really like that cool of a sport.
It counts.
I feel like that doesn't really go far beyond that. But yeah, maybe field hockey. Maybe I would have gotten to swimming. Both my parents were swimmers.
Interesting. Favorite post-fight meal?
Ice cream.
And your last one, what's tougher, 5-round cardio or when the baby won't stop crying at night?
The baby, yeah, for sure. You can push yourself through with the cardio. You can just push yourself through. The baby, it's like, no, you can't. Nothing you do works. She wins.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katlyn. Best of luck with your training, and we can't wait to see you back out there in a few months.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.